Yeah, that was when the speak was born. So it was in 1950 that the speak was inaugurated. And now what happened that time? Dr. Akanebiam was part of it. We all know Dr. Akanebiam, the first governor of Eastern Region. So he was part of it. Now I want to talk about, okay, Obalo was there. There's another man called DC Erine. So he was the secretary, while Obalo was the chairman. Then Akanebiam was the first president. Then Dr. S.E. Onwu and Bishop J.C. Anyogu. They became the second president. Was the first president. They speak. Now, who is this Dr. S.C. Onwu that was the second president of Speak? It was his committee that headed the alphabet we are using today and the orthography, called Onwu's orthography, the one we are using today to speak Igbo. So that means this Speak, they began to look inwardly into the language. They don't want the white people to tell us about us this time around. We ourselves, we want to use our hand to study our language, to study the structure, and to do it the way we want, and make it to compete with other languages. That was the essence of forming the Speak. And when Speak was born, they had a lot of objectives. And this time around, the Igbo people that know something, the intellectuals, everybody came together. They brought their resources, their brains, and everything. They decided to do something about all these things. And now their objective is to make sure that Igbo language is taught not just in O level, because when this Central Igbo period, Igbo language was only on O level. That period, only O level, or teachers training college, TC2, and all that. But Speak said, okay, this time around, we want to make sure that Igbo language is being offered in universities, college of education, and other high institutions. So now they said that one of their objectives is to demonstrate the capability of Igbo language to serve as a language of communications and transactions at all levels of government, education, and commercial concern. That's one of the objectives. Then the second one is they want to encourage the use of oral and written Igbo in daily affairs. Anything you want to do, not just writing, not just speaking. Because speaking has never changed. Speaking then. So the speaking has never changed. What has changed is the writing, the way we write. Although some words, we lose some and we gain some. All right. So again, another objective is that they want to encourage teaching of Igbo language in school. Of course, I mentioned this, not just in universities, not just in primary school, but secondary school and universities. And they want to organize seminars in Igbo culture, Igbo language. And they want to make sure that they train a lot of actors and also students so that they will be excellent in the affairs of Igbo language. And also they people to see it as a good thing. And also they want to encourage and assemble study materials with reference to the Igbo language and culture. So they want to have kind of collection of oral histories, folk texts, songs, arts, sculptures, carvings, and many other things. So their objectives are many. And now what did they do? They began to partition this into two major committees. The first committee was the finance committee, the one that take care of money.
Now, and the second committee is what we are going to talk about. That is what we call the standardization committee. The standardization committee. Now, it was this standardization committee that gave birth to what is called standard Igbo. That is Igbo Izugbe. So central Igbo is not Igbo Izugbe. I don't know if my network is still clear now.
Yes, yes, it is. It is.
Okay. So whenever you hear, can you speak Igbo Izugbe? And never just say Igbo Izugbe means central Igbo. No. Central Igbo is not Igbo Izugbe because central Igbo was just a one-sided Igbo of old Owerri and the Omahia province. Now the question is, what then is Igbo Izugbe? Now I want to explain the word Izugbe. Izugbe means collective. Collective. So if we could use the word collective to mean central, which is just one side of Igbo, that means in Odaba Adaba. So now I'll get to that. Now when the standardization committee was established officially in 1972, that was when. But before this standardization committee, something happened in 1966 that gave birth to further research. In 1966, there was a pogrom in Kano. So Ndi Igbo from all walks of life were traveling back home. Then the Nigerian Biafra War was already locking around. So Ndi Igbo from every part of the country were coming home. And this time around, they were kind of mixing of dialects. They were mixing of dialect, mixing of language. Because anywhere you see, you stay. That was what happened that time. People came back from north, they were, people different places because of what was going on then. So there was a kind of a cross fertilization of dialects. People, you speak your own, this one speak his own, this one speaks his own. And now, 2 years after the war in 1972, that was when standardization of Igbo language started. It was unofficial. Nobody studied it. So the thing started on its own. Ndị mmadụ amaghị mgbe ha only just bido naturally. So onye nke a sụọ dialect ya because ndị Igbo mixed up that period. Ndị niile n'ebe dị iche iche came back home. Even those who never visited, but anyway they stayed there, they were speaking Igbo, but they came speaking their dialect. This one mixing, this one mixing, this one mixing. That was the first thing that naturally happened to Igbo language. Then after the war in 1972, when this thing happened, then already there was a collection of different vocabulary, so to say, from different dialects. That was what gave birth to what is called Igbo Izugbe collective, or so to say, if I want to translate it, layman understanding. So now in the work of standardization committee is to make sure that name with a good spelling, with borrowed works from different dialects of Igbo. This time around is no longer Owere, Mbise, and Omahia dialects. This time around, all the Igbo dialects, you pick from here, you pick from here, you pick from here, you pick from here. Nari was picked from Masoka side. Puku was picked from Anioma. That's what we use for our numerals, And this time around, they did not just allow this called in a general form. They didn't make it for scholars. They allowed the general public, businessmen, to contribute. So even those who didn't go to school, they were allowed to contribute. So when they contribute, this one contributes, they now deliberate, they held conferences whereby they deliberate and they now publish it and start making it in publications, maybe newspaper, right? Putting in a book, using it in radio stations and television. So it was the Speak who pushed all these things. So now even the standardization committee, they now had a subcommittee The first one is spelling committee. The spelling committee, this one, they make sure these were, in fact, the components of this committee were mostly linguists, and also they made in fact the door, the floor was open for others to contribute. So now they will look into Igbo spelling, technical vocabularies, numerous, cardinal and ordinal numbers. So when they now contribute all these things, they make sure that they deliberate on it. They now know how to include it into writing. And also they have publications and publishing committee, and they have Igbo National Dress Committee. You know, they also have a cultural affairs committee. They have almanacs and calendar committee. So all these ones are under the standardization committee. They're just subcommittees under the standardization committee. That means the standard Igbo is not just about the language, it's also include the dressing, the numerals. Now, before 1972, Ndi Igbo used to count this way. Ogu is 20. Nnu is 400. So Nnu is the highest count. So Nnu is 400, yeah. Nnu is the highest count. Even if you're reading the old Bible, Igbo Bible, Nnu ego na Ogu eri, they are talking about. So if say Nnu kwuru Nnu, they are talking about uncountable. So Igbo old counting stop at 400. So it was the standardization committee who, try as you study other dialects. Know that other dialects in which you na-akpacha, other dialects in puku, others in nari. That's how they started picking, and now make it a general language. Now we can now have million. We call million nde. If you say nde kwuru nde, you say millions. Ijeri. Ijeri is billion. Ijeri kwuru ijeri, billions. So it was this standardization committee that made it possible, because they had to. It didn't just end there. They started. It was Professor Nolue Nanjo. I was privileged to meet him before he died. So he was the one who was heading this committee, especially the spelling committee. And he was also he was given the privilege of being the secretary of the publication and the publishing committee. He also held the editorial aspect of this speak. So Emenanjo is from Ibozo in Delta. This man used all his life for Igbo language. He worked with Obalo. So after the Obalo's death, so he, in fact, this man, all the textbook we are using to learn Igbo is from 1970s. Almost all the textbook is Igbo. That is the he's one who wrote it. Professor Nore Emenanjo, Emmanuel Nore Emenanjo. So we ensure that this standardization committee held water. Even when the K. Williamson wrote Igbo dictionary, it was him who was her researcher. K. Williamson was a white woman. She was at University of Port Harcourt, a linguist. So she focused in Igbo studies, Igbo research. It was Emenanjo who helped her and worked with her, gave her data for that research that gave birth to Igbo dictionary by K. Williamson. So now, after the standardization committee now made Igbo language, what did they do? They started pushing it.
So that we just give you some time.
No problem. So now, what did they do? They started pushing. They just want the language to stand like that. Okay, we are done arranging our language the way we want it. And before this time, orthography was already out in 1961. So they started pushing Ebidogu Igbo. Do you know the first place they started studying Igbo language in universities? It was University of Ibadan. So from 1972, University of Ibadan started offering Igbo language. Then at 1974, my academic mentor, Professor Nonwadike, studied Igbo language in University of Ibadan in 1974 to 1977. Before, he now moved to University of Lagos. So, University of Ibadan and University of Lagos were the places Igbo language they started offering Igbo in high institution. But you know what? University of Nigeria and Nsukka rejected it. it is somehow
So who were
University
the
of Nigeria.
teachers
That is
there, Maazi? Who were the teachers in
Yeah?
Lagos and Ibadan? Who were the teachers in Lagos?
There's still Igbo people. Even up to now, University of Lagos offer Igbo language more than University of Nigeria and Nsukka. I'm talking. I went to UNN, so I visited University of Lagos, Unilag. They offer Igbo more than University of Nigeria and Nsukka.
Wow.
In Unilag now, you can have Igbo language as a degree, but in UNN, all of us they blended it under linguistics. So I studied linguistics and Igbo. You know, that is why I wanted to drop out when I went to school to study Igbo language, pure Igbo. I didn't miss with anything. So when I got there, I usually became some courses when I was kind of what are they doing here? So when I went to Unilag, I noticed that all their course code was Igbo language. Now, do you know that it was just in about 1980s, Kebido Kuziwi Igbo na UNN. This is a history that we don't talk about it, or we don't like talking about it. The University of Nigeria and Nsukka, headed by Ndi Igbo, rejected the Igbo language. In fact, they gave speak some conditions that the conditions were in fact, before you meet this condition, so that they have to buy 30,000 capacity seat. They have to buy this one, and speak. We're using their money to do all these things. 30,000. They were using their money to cut all these things. Obalo had PhD in economics, and speak. We're using their money to do all these things. All his life, they were using their money to cut all these things. That's why you cannot mention Igbo language without Obalo. So now it was even when Nsukka started to offer, they said they want to they started offering Igbo language. They blended under foreign language department. Before around 1980 and 1981 academic section, that was speak was still sending delegates to UNN. It was within that 1980s that they started let us have Abiangweze Department of Languages. They now put some Igbo this thing into the. So then they sent some lecturers from Afaniko College of Education, Owerri. Another history. It was Afaniko College of Education, Kebido Kuzu Igbo, in all the whole high institutions in Nigeria. And it was done by this man called Dr. Bertrand Iwunwa Uswagu. It was written by this man. So he was the one who single-handedly started the Igbo department, Igbo language and culture. He now invited Emenanjo to come over there. That was when Emenanjo became the HOD. He rose as a HOD and also Dean of Languages. That was in 1978 when he released Elements of Modern Igbo Grammar. And Emenyono released his book. What is the title of this book, self? Like if I remember, I would just say it's about Igbo novels. Okay, so it was launched in 1978 by Oxford. I launched the two books at the same time. Why Emenanjo was talking about Igbo grammar, then Emenyono, you see, then at that time, even English scholars, they focus in researching about Igbo. Like the man who started Igbo literature, Igbo language in University of Lagos. He had PhD in English. Professor Nabeni Ogbonna. He had PhD in English. Then he now brought Simon Oshuku, who also was a student, who was also an English student. He brought him to Unilag and brought others, to come and join him and push Igbo language in University of Lagos. Then, so now these people were members of this association. Speak. It was a very big platform. Even with Igbo scholars. This one, we are medical doctors. Oh, in 1974, a medical doctor released the first Igbo drama. Igbo never had drama test. It was released in 1974 by Professor Anelechi Barnaba Chukwueze. And the name of that book is Udo Kamma in 1974, sorry. Then in 1975 was the time Igbo released the first anthology, Igbo poem, written by almost all the Igbo writers of then. Ubesie has already started writing, in 1973, 1975, he already written Isa Kwodaranala, Juobinna, Miroku Ije Bumbe, and all that. So you see, then all these people were working together. And this time around, what they were using is no longer Central Igbo. They are now using standard Igbo language. Then the standard Igbo now say, okay, let us not just use only our own language, because one of the characteristics of language is borrowing. We could also look into other languages and borrow from them to enrich our vocabularies. And also, they started, brainstorming some things to have Igbo words for them, like university. They were the one who started with Mahadum. So they now say, okay, since university is a place to know almost everything, let's just call it Marahadum. So how do we call Marahadum? Okay, say let them abbreviate it, Mahadum. That was how we have a name for university. And before they form anything, there will be a seminar, there will be a conference. Conferences were held. So like that. No. Language, one thing about language is conventionalism. Language is conventional. You cannot just wake up and call something a name and expect everybody to know it. No, it doesn't work that way. People must accept it. And there are procedures, such things must undergo before the general public will now accept it. So that is the thing. No, when they started, they pushed. Finally, they started offering Igbo in Nsukka. And that time they were offering Igbo in Nsukka, projects were written in English. Nobody has ever written. It was Professor Wadike who supervised the first Igbo project in 1988. And Wadike came from Afro College of Education Owerri to University of Nigeria Nsukka. He was also the first person who started using Igbo language to teach university courses. Wadike in University of Nigeria Nsukka. I'm not talking of other schools, but in UNN is the history there. Though I was privileged, he was my mentor, and he also supervised my degree, which I use Igbo language to write. So that is the journey of what we called Igbo Izugbe today. So Igbo Izugbe is not Central Igbo. Instead, Igbo Izugbe is standard Igbo or general Igbo. It is the general one. Central is peculiar to Omahia, and people rejected it. A lot of people rejected it. And even before that time, there were also publications with different orthography. Like if you read I don't know, I have searched that book, I no longer have it. If you see the book, you may not even read it, because all them was written as O, with a kind of horizontal line across it, across zero. That's how to spell O those days. So that is orthography using then. Now our people now use their hand. Even the alphabet we are using now to write. And we use our hand to study some dialects and also coin all those things. Of course, there are a lot of dialects that we don't have any sound to represent it or any letter to represent it. I'm from Opose or Hosra, so I know some of my dialect that there's nothing to represent it, and such as every other Igbo dialect. So we still have a lot of things to do, a lot of work to do regarding this. So that is it. Let me just summarize what I've said so far before questions. That Central Igbo, Bundiocha, for their own interest. Hello?
Yeah,
Oh, we
Maazi,
can
point
hear
now.
you.
I
can
know.
hear you. Can hear you.
So, okay, Central Igbo bụ ndị ọcha for their own interest, and interest also for the interest of us, but basically for their own interest, so that it will be easier for them, because they say that Onitsha dialect is hard. So they now move to Bowere and the Omahia side. And before that, they didn't do this within them. They used our people because it was our people who were telling them what to do. Right? So not as if they came and started, writing it the way they want or something like that. Although some of them they use their own alphabet. That is why we have, like I said, Onitsha. Sometimes if I write Onitsha, people will be telling me, "Guy, you don't know what are you writing?" Or sometimes if I like Enugu, Ugu, not Enugu, people will be like, "What are you doing?" So this gu is on Diocha, Bundi, because they cannot pronounce Gwe. They now use Ge. And the same thing with O. There was a time O was AW. It was orthography. Ndiocha that time AD. That's why we have Oka. There's no way Oka is O. So what they call that AW is what they call O in that orthography. Look at Okonano. If you want to call Okonano now, you say Okonano now. Amobia. You see, anywhere this is okay. Ogbonna, they can write this. I will just be writing all this I'm saying now. But
No,
so
I know.
Amobia.
I mean.
So something with Amobia. You see, Mbosse. Like Mbosse, like in Ngwa side. You say Mbosse. How is this written? It's not done that way. So on Jocha Bunini they are like that. So when we now take our time to study our own language, okay, it's okay. This is wrong. This is how it's supposed to be. So and now our people, Imagon now, as not they of course we know that Ugu, there's nothing like Enugu. We have Ugu as hill. Enugu hilltop, top of the mountain. So then these people say, okay, we want to do it for our own benefits so that it will be easier for us to understand what these people are saying. Let us focus on only this way. I leave the other part of Ndi Igbo. That is Central Igbo. Then the standard Igbo, born out of our own people who collectively decided to work on our language, and make it a universal one. Say, no, we are not interested in what Ndiocha brought to us. We want to use our hand, we want to take our destiny in our own hand. So, okay, we want to do this thing and include every other places. Let me use an example of what Igbo Izugbe is all about. The standard Igbo language. Let me use, for instance, Ahwekere is the central word for granite. But in Igbo Izugbe, which is standard language, Ahwekere is there. Now we have synonyms. There is Ashiboko. There is Opapa. Some people call it granite Opapa. There is Opala in different dialects. So that means standard Igbo language accepted variant dialects. While you are writing Igbo literature now, standard Igbo language encourage you to use your dialect in some places because that will help us to enrich the vocabularies. That is what Igbo is all about. They want you to, while you are writing, also bring some of your dialects and include it. And that person will include it. Then we are building our language. And that is what I laugh at people who say the Igbo language is not complete. That Igbo language is not complete like Hausa or Yoruba. Start laughing. And if you ask these people, why are you saying all this? And they will say, because you cannot say anything without speaking English. Anyway, that is not the fault of Igbo language, but our own fault. You cannot blame it because asụsụ bụ nkụ dị na mba na-ere mba nri. The firewood in a nation, in a community, cook their food. That means everything we have, and in will have for them. When we have problems, when we start, borrowing, like people want Igbo language to have name for everything. Man of Gabiano Katano, ask them what is Igbo name for coronavirus. So you see, because there's no word for Igbo word for coronavirus. The Igbo language is not complete. Have you asked yourself, coronavirus was in Igbo? Because all the Igbo na no go change which alpha. So it's okay that we are the one to say, okay, this is how we want to write it. This is how we want to call it. Or somebody has said, what is television in Igbo? Television is not Igbo. Ndị Igbo ga-akpọ ya otu o si daba, akpọ ya TV. Because, and again, when you want to translate, we call it domestication in translation. When you want to domesticate some of these things, you don't just wake up and call it any name that people will not understand. Imagine if I call TV, TV, if I just call it, let me just find something and call it. People will be like, what are you talking about? When they are ready, they will not understand what you are saying. So this standardization committee now said that some technical works in Igbo, you don't need to find Igbo name for them. Instead, you will use a system called Igbonization. And when you are talking about Igbonization, that is, you make it sound like Igbo. In fact, it will retain the sound, the pronunciation, so to say, the sound of that particular item. But while writing it, it must conform with Igbo phonetic rules. That is why we have TV. Instead of writing it television or TV, say TV. We have T-E-E-V-E, TV. That's how we call it in Igbo. And when somebody is reading a write-up and see TV, he will understand what you are saying. So that is the system. The standardization committee webpotara ka enwe ike je na-asụpe some things who are technical work. And this is even make it easier. Like when we want to translate textbook in physics, chemistry, some items you don't need to kill yourself to find Igbo name for them. You use this system called Igbonization. Even English language make use of that. Like some words borrowed into English language, they make sure that sound somehow is being retained, although the writing might be different, and they also show you the etymology of such word. So the same way, something is applicable to Igbo language, and that is what this standardization committee worked on. So they were the one who made it possible for Igbo language to be written in WAEC, NECO, JAMB. They were also the ones who made it possible for Igbo language to be studied in university to PhD level. People are making PhD now in Igbo language. So it was the speak who made it possible. And they were the one who pushed what we call standardization committee. This is a standard Igbo language or general Igbo. And the Abaso in our radio. And although over the years now, people now ndị na-agbasa ozi na radio, na TV, all these presenters, they, sorry to say this, some of them are not kind of, they don't even understand the concept of, instead of using the standard Igbo language or the general Igbo one as the objective, was the onye nọkata ọsụrụ ga ihu ọsụrụla azụ, why we have greetings for morning, we have greetings for afternoon in Igbo language. Must our worldview be conform to English language? No. We have morning greeting. We must not, our worldview is different. But ndị be anyị pụta na-asị gị ụtụtụ ọma na radio. Ndị be anyị ụtụtụ ọma o, ehihie ọma o, abalị ọma. We're also saying good morning, good evening. Why we have a lot of greetings that could serve? We only translate or borrow some things when we don't have alternative. Whereas we have a lot of alternative. Ibolachi in the morning, on a radio, if you're presenting in the morning or TV, you can tell somebody, no, in Abolachi. Kedu kudu in Abolachi. It's no logikwano. And that is our own worldview. Our greeting is more of care. In English, you can just say somebody good morning when you go along with, but Ndibo, Ebolachi. So that means there is a room for conversation. There is a room to be concerned, to feel concerned, talks one another. That is our greeting. In the afternoon, we don't greet we greet based on what you are doing. If you're working day with and so these are the things we need to kind of re-educate our minds about. So anytime you hear about Igbo Izugbe, we are not talking about Central Igbo. Rather, we are talking about General Igbo. Because Central Igbo is one side, while General Igbo is collective. It's collective. So we now allow people to express themselves using their dialect. While you are using Igbo Izugbe, you also, if you have some words in your dialect, you can bring it. And the Central Igbo had no room for synonyms. only one thing is there. It has handy how you call. But the general Igbo or the Igbo Izugbe, in a room for synonyms. We have a word. We can also have variations based on the dialect, and it's open for borrowing, not just from Igbo language but from other languages. We borrow a lot of words from Yoruba, just as Yoruba also has some words they borrow from Igbo. Words like akuna akuna is not Igbo word. Ashawo is not Igbo word. We borrow all these words, and akuna akuna is a kind of a coinage, based on a place in Cross River. If even na-akpọ akpụlakpụla ebe ahụ, a sị na ebe ahụ ụmụ nwaanyị na-esogharị ndị ọcha n'oge ahụ. And there was time I wrote about that. There's a culture. Sorry if I'm diverting. So there is a culture among the what these people called in Cross River State, Ugoja. If you are passing there, they will be begging you to come and eat their food, all those kind of things. They will they are hospitable, and they ụfọdụ ha a na-esocha ụmụ nwoke ụmụ iri ya ndị side ebe akwụla akwụla ahụ. So mgbe ahụ ndị Igbo mere ije mba lọta afọ onye isi adịrọ nwata nwaanyị a dị ka onye isi akwụla akwụla. That was how we now have akwụla akwụla akwụna, and also Ashewu, Yoruba, Ghana. We now adopt the word, now bring it into our own lexicon. We now make it to follow our own phonetic way of writing. Instead of saying Ashewu, we say Ashawu. The same thing with Agberu. We don't say Agberu as in Igbo, we say Agboru. So all these things are borrowed, and they are only allowed in the standard Igbo language, which is the Igbo Izugbe, but not allowed in Central. So we can now borrow. We can now form words. We can now, enlarge or enrich our lexicon. Although there's a problem in 1990 when Ogbonna died, everything about speak died. That was when Igbo language started, having serious issues. So that is where I rest my case for now.
Thank you very much, Maazi. Because I wish to appeal to the moderators. I want to moderate this room. I want to moderate this room myself. Nobody should move anybody down or out. Maazi Dalo, for the very wonderful here. So we are going to open the floor now for people to ask their questions. So we start with those on the stage. If they have questions, they should throw it at Maazi first. And I'm going to ask the first question. I'm going to ask the first question to Maazi. Why did Nsukka reject Igbo language at first? Why was that?
Okay, the reason is, I would say, the same reason we are having now. That is, when we look down on what we have, Ejibejebe syndrome. How can we be offering local language? That is the only reason. And because they want to push speak away, they now give them a condition. They thought that they were not going to, kind of step up or to meet up with the host expectations. And the speak did it. And after doing it, they still refuse to give speak. They still refuse to give Igbo language a full department, even up to now. Nsukka, a full department of Igbo language. It's been attached under linguistics and other Nigerian languages. So it is a sorry state of affair. Average Igbo man has subjected his own language. They don't want all the too local. Even those of us that went to study it in school were seen as I've shared my experience a couple of times. Even my people were against me. They fought me that I was going to waste my brain in school. Came JB. I supposed to go and study law. I supposed to go and study this and that. You have the brain to study. Why do you want to waste it in Igbo language? So it's the same ideology. Yeah. So Bunsobu. Like you go to University of Nigeria and Nsukka today. If you imagine in university environment, see professors, their children be and so because professors feel that local. So it's a serious problem. And Ogbonna brought it today. Up to now, there's still that problem. So, Omolo also battery about issue of Igbo. Our university is a prestigious one. How can you just bring Igbo language here and be teaching Igbo language? It is somehow. So they rejected it, and it even took extra effort for them to even allow some courses to be taught in Igbo language. Even when I was in school, most of my courses were taught in English. So everything I'm doing, I use my hand. I train myself on that. So I make sure I work on myself. And everything I'm doing now, I didn't learn it in school. I started writing books in secondary school. I wrote about 15 books in secondary school before going to university. So that was why I wanted to drop out. I almost dropped out in my second year. I was not staying in class. Each of my classmates, they would tell you that they hardly see Maazi in classroom because to me, they were wasting my time. So I used my hand to study myself, meet all those scholars who are still alive. Some of them are late now. I met them, visited them in their various homes, asked them questions. They gave me books. Some of them gifted me with a lot of materials, So that is it. So everything, even in the university now, they are not doing enough. They're not doing anything now to teach Igbo language to students. So that is it. And like I said, lag. Let me capitalize on that. Sorry. Let me just mention this to Unilag is a hub for Igbo oral literature. Maybe I will discuss this as a full-fledged topic some other time because a lot of things I need to talk.
Okay, that would be nice. So let that be food for thought for us. We'll schedule a room in subsequent time to discuss about the role Unilag has played in promoting Igbo culture. Okay, that's fine. Can the only also want a question, please? I don't know whether we should use the PTR order or people should just bring their mic. I can see Maazi. I can see.
No, Uche, beg, Uche. Yeah, who the fuck moved me down? Please ask that question. I want to know. Please ask that question like we discussed.
Maazi, calm down now, Maazi.
Who got one punish here? Move me down.
Okay, it's okay, Maazi. Let me handle this. Maazi. Let me handle this. It's okay. Sorry, I offer my apologies for whoever moved you down. I'm going to accept the responsibility as the head mod for this house and apologize to you. This is Igbo nation and it's big enough to accommodate everybody. It's big enough to accommodate everybody. Igbos, non-Igbos, Ndi Igbo na Mase, those that love Igbos, friends of Igbos, and the rest of them. It's an opportunity for us to learn and understand ourselves. And we cannot achieve this by being divisive. So, Bikono, I offer my apologies and I plead to other mods, please, nobody should move anybody down. Let that decision be mine. And I want to own it to my chest when I do it. Let that decision be mine. One of us two was thrown out and she can't come into this room again. And it's not fair. It's not fair on her. She was here when this house started. She was the second person to join this room. I don't think that's fair. Somebody moved Sugar Belly out, and that is not fair. She's only Igbo. She's also a linguist, and she has maybe one or two things to also contribute to our discussion today. Maazi, if you can mute your mic, thank you. So, Bikono, let us not move anybody. Nobody should touch anybody here. I'm going to take a cue for the questions, and I've seen Maazi. Maazi, you still have a question? I've seen Enyi. I saw Kenike. Ogbonna with capital N. Abiodu, then Coco, and Onoha. Who else? Okay, and Dr. Francis, and Chukwalokabi. Okay, Chukwaloka. So I'm writing it down so that I'll call us at our appropriate time. Chukwaloka, and finally Nwanne. Okay, so I have on my list Maazi, Enyi, Kenike, Maazi, Enyi, Kenike, Ogbonna with capital N, Dr. Francis, Abiodu, Coco, Onoha, Chukwaloka, and Nwanne. Let us start with this for now. After that, we'll take another cue. Maazi, you have the floor. You have 2 minutes to ask your question or make your contribution. Is Maazi still here?
Maazi is no longer here. Actually.
Okay, so Enyi, is your turn. Enyi, take over. Is Enyi here? Enyi Onoya? Enyi?
No.
Yeah, Enyi, go ahead. You have 2 questions for your question. 2 minutes for your question.
Okay, thank you very much. Maazi, it's good to have you here. I'm a very big fan of your work. I follow you on Twitter, and you encourage so many of us who are Igbo people to embrace our language and be proud of it. So, and our culture. I really thank you for being here. My questions to you rather are based on the history of the Igbo people in Nigeria. Why do we have that derogatory term? It shouldn't be derogatory, but for some reason it is. And why is it only our culture that has it, our language that has it? That derogatory term, Igbotic. Why is it that when you speak with your natural accent or dialect, people say that you are Igbotic? And it's also a problem also amongst Igbo people. Even Igbo people also look down on people who they say have an Igbotic accent. Maybe I don't know if you have the historical background on why this is so. You can share that with us. And then I also want to ask secondly, do you also maybe know, based on your research, your studies, why is it also that some Igbo parents refuse to teach their children Igbo? Maybe their children learn later or don't even learn at all. Why is it that, and mostly those who are not living in the southeast, why is it that, because sometimes you can even go to the market to buy some things, you see that the market seller is speaking to her child in English. When you see that, like other people from other regions, they might be very wealthy, but yet they speak to their kids in their local language. So I want to,
Okay, I'm back.
Is it that we are not a proud?
Sorry, Enyi, repeat the question. Maazi, network here.
Okay, I'm back. Because okay, I question another here. Because okay,
Maazi, maybe he left the room.
Please, can you bring him back? Sorry.
I'll try to bring him back.
Because I say again. Because
I'll try to bring him back. Sorry.
Biko.
So,
Uche,
Enyi, want to question on that?
I think maybe there are about 2 people that were kicked out, so you might want to move everybody down to bring those people in.
Okay. I don't know whether we need to do that. But
Uche,
before we do that,
Uche,
yeah,
please,
Ogbonna.
let's say this thing categorically here, please. We do not bring politics into this Igbo nation room. That is not what we do. This room is simply for Igbo history. This room is we use this room to tell the stories of our people. We do not bring our private politics into this room. Everybody is welcome to this room. So please, whoever is kicking people out, please stop kicking people out.
Okay, thank you, Ogbonna. I think what I'm going to do, apart from Maazi, I'm going to move. No, excuse me, Valentino.
Blocking people.
Valentino, no, one of our mods kicked somebody out, and that is unfair. I wouldn't want that in a room I'm moderating, honestly. So what I'm going to do now is that before any will repeat his question, I'm going to introduce this room and move everybody down except Maazi, then bring everybody up again. So that we can bring in those.
When you move everybody down, only you and Maazi should be the mod. Let's stop this politics. Only
Yes.
you and Maazi should be
Okay.
mod. Let's reduce this mod.
Yes.
Okay.